Each year about this time, the list comes out for all the priest changes. And I was delighted this year to know that my name was not on the list. But it makes me remember back to the changes in my own life that have happened usually around June. And it was 26 years ago that I first became a pastor. And I had been an associate, and I had taught in the school for a while. For 8 years I did those things. And then I remember getting the letter saying, now I'm appointing you as pastor at St. Matthew's in Vernon Center, my first parish. And among us, this is kind of a big moment. We kind of joke about it and say it's the moment when you get your own refrigerator, which you do. But more than that, I think it was a moment when you've studied, you've watched other priests pastor, and now suddenly the responsibility is on you. So can I do it? Will it be okay? And it was kind of scary because I was pretty unsure, but the people really, I think, formed and shaped me in those early years and helped me to be a good pastor. And I always remember that in my first parish. When I heard Jesus talking to the disciples today in that gospel, he was asking them some basic questions, and they were giving him answers, but I think he was kind of forming them and shaping them to be his followers. Even though they could identify him as the Christ, which Peter did, then he began to talk about what was involved in being a follower of Christ, carrying your cross especially. In other words, saying, this is great that you recognize me as the Savior, but just so you're aware that there will be some tough days ahead also. It's not all a cakewalk. In our own lives, I think somehow we have to go through that same formation in our lives. We have come to believe that Jesus is important in our life. We need his presence. But there's a formation that goes on within us. And those simple questions, I think, maybe have something to say to us. We ask them of each other maybe every day. Like, we see somebody and we say, who are you? Or what is, we're asking, we need somebody we don't know them. And our usual response is, you would give our name, and maybe we're married, we give our spouse, or we maybe say what kind of work we do. But I think the formation going on in us is to go a bit deeper in our own personal lives. Not that we would tell this necessarily to everybody, but are we aware of who we are and the unique gifts and talents that God has given us? Because I think it's very important that we don't start thinking that, well, I have nothing to offer and I really have no gifts. Well, everybody is a gift in some way. And your presence here today makes this community more vibrant. Another question we use is, where are you from? We usually say the town you were born in. Maybe we say our parents, because maybe connects us to a particular family. But it's a good question for us further. Where are we from? What has been the journey of our life? What has God taken us on? When you look back on your life, you begin to see the ways, maybe particular moments when God especially touched you or took you and moved you to a place of greater faith. And that understanding and knowledge of our own journey in faith really bears well for us. And I think we have to understand. Otherwise, sometimes we carry resentments and bad feelings about things that have happened in our life. It really needs somehow working through the history that is ours. Then we ask, where are you going? So, again, looking at the history of our life, where are we going? We might, I don't know, respond about some vocation that we have and say, I oftentimes ask a young couple that comes to get married, what's your dream? Where do you want to go with your life? And they usually have some dream that they want. Well, for us, what is it that brings us a greater sense of faith and a greater connection to our God? We have to kind of know what supports us. And I think of things in my life, like the people that I hang around with, the places that I go, kinds of activities I do. They really kind of form and shape who I am. And I think sometimes, there are certain people in my life that really help me and are good to be around. There are some people that I have to kind of avoid. They're not so good for me. They can get me into trouble. Are there some places that it's the same thing? I need to go to places that really build me up or that really strengthen my faith. Some places are not good. We all know that. Some activities that we have could really not be so supportive of the values that we carry. Just knowing that, and I think it helps us to form and really to celebrate the gift of life that we have been given in God. So this day is a good moment to, again, admit that God is calling each of us. We have our gifts. We have a direction, a plan that's unfolding, and we have to trust God's guidance in our lives.